Welcome back to Book Podcaster. Hey you, yeah you, probably buried under textbooks, maybe surviving on coffee. Seriously, take a second. Breathe. Nursing school is, well, it's intense, like trying to drink from a fire hose, right?
Well,
We get it. But today, we're diving into something really core, something that's more than just memorizing facts. It's really about the heart of what you'll be doing. We're talking about the recovery model in mental health.
mm,
Think of it as a way of looking at things that's genuinely about hope, about seeing the potential in everyone.
absolutely. It's such an important shift, really, a real evolution in how we approach mental health care. We're moving away from, just ticking off symptoms
Right.
towards actually helping people build lives that feel rich and meaningful to them, even with ongoing challenges.
Looking beyond the diagnosis label.
Exactly. It's about the person.
And that core idea, the thing that really jumped out from the material we looked at is just, it's simple but so powerful.
Mm,
Everyone, and that means everyone, has the potential to recover, no matter how severe things seem.
that's the fundamental belief.
It's about recognizing the person first, always. So let's dig in. What is this recovery model really about in practice?
Well, fundamentally, the recovery model sees recovery as this deeply personal journey, unique to each individual. It's not just like the absence of symptoms.
Okay.
It's more about someone regaining a sense of agency, control over their own life, discovering what gives them purpose, building a life that feels fulfilling, valuable.
Even while they're still navigating mental health condition.
Exactly, even while managing the reality of that condition.
That makes so much more sense. Because you could be, like, technically symptom-free but still feel lost.
Precisely. Something could still be missing.
Our readings really highlighted how different this is from older ways of thinking, which were so focused on just managing the illness itself.
The traditional medical model often focused there.
But the recovery model puts that belief in a full, hopeful life right at the center. Why is that shift so significant?
Well, historically, mental health care sometimes, maybe inadvertently, focused a lot on limitations, on the deficits associated with an illness.
Okay, yeah.
The recovery model actively pushes back against that. It emphasizes the strength, the resilience, the capacity for growth that everyone has.
Oh, I see.
Take the example of John, a 45-year-old man with schizophrenia.
Okay.
He'd kind of internalized a lot of negativity around his diagnosis, but with a recovery approach, the focus shifted. It became about empowering him to set small, achievable goals, things he cared about.
Like what?
Maybe reconnecting with his family or finding some volunteer work he enjoyed. Simple things, but meaningful to him.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't about erasing the schizophrenia. It was about supporting him to build a life he valued alongside managing it.
Focusing on his goals, his strengths.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that made all the difference for him. It fostered a sense of accomplishment, of self-worth.
Wow, that really paints a picture. It's not just abstract theory. It's about tangible changes in people's lives.
Yeah.
Now, this model, it has some core principles, right? Like the foundations.
Exactly. These principles really underpin the whole approach. First off, there's hope.
Hope.
And this isn't just, wishful thinking. It's a deep belief held by the person and their support system that recovery is always possible, even when things feel incredibly dark or stuck.
How do nurses nurture that?
By celebrating the small wins, maybe connecting people with stories of others who've navigated similar challenges. It's about keeping that possibility alive.
Okay. What else?
Then there's empowerment. This is huge. It's about individuals having real control over their lives and being active partners in decisions about their care.
Being in the driver's seat.
Precisely. Which must feel incredibly important if you felt like the illness was running the show.
Absolutely. What other principles are key?
Self-direction is vital. It means truly respecting and supporting people in defining their own goals for recovery, choosing their own path.
Their life, their journey.
Exactly. And flowing from that is individualized care. Recovery isn't some cookie-cutter process. It has to be tailored. Unique needs, preferences, strengths, culture, it all matters.
Makes sense.
And finally, a holistic approach. Recognizing that mental health isn't separate from everything else. It's tied into physical health, emotional well-being, social life, spirituality, values, the whole person.
You can't just treat one part in isolation.
You really can't.
That holistic piece, that really connects for me, especially thinking about nursing. We're always taught to look at the whole person. That example of the nurse working with someone with bipolar disorder and focusing not just on meds, but also on their hobbies, their relationships, maybe helping them think about school again. That really shows how it works. Building a fulfilling life, not just managing symptoms.
Absolutely. It's that shift in focus from what's wrong to what's possible, what strengths are there to build on. And while everyone's path is definitely unique, we do often see some common themes, maybe stages you could call them, that emerge.
Stages, okay? Like common milestones on that personal journey.
Kind of, yeah. Though not rigidly linear. The first stage often involves hope and empowerment. This is where someone starts to maybe envision life beyond the diagnosis, finding those first glimmers of hope, feeling a bit more agency.
Even in small things, like treatment choices.
Exactly. Even small choices can feel empowering at that point. It builds momentum.
That first spark, yeah, it seems critical. What might come after that?
Often, stage two is about self-discovery and identity. This is where people start exploring who they are besides their diagnosis, rediscovering old interests, maybe finding new skills, redefining their sense of self.
Which might have gotten lost or overshadowed by the illness.
Precisely. It's like uncovering parts of themselves again, rebuilding a more complete sense of who they are.
Okay, makes sense.
Then often we see a focus on building connections and meaning, actively developing or maybe repairing relationships, family, friends, community.
Finding that sense of belonging.
Yes, that sense of belonging, finding purpose through those connections, or maybe through work or volunteering. It's huge for recovery. We're social creatures.
Totally. Feeling like you belong, like you matter.
Yeah.
That's fundamental.
And then a later stage we often see is about growth and resilience. This is where individuals show more ability to navigate challenges. Setbacks happen.
Life happens.
Right. But it's about recognizing their own inner strength, viewing difficulties not as failures, but as opportunities to learn and grow stronger.
That's really encouraging. Thinking about that example, Anna, with major depressive disorder,
Yeah.
seeing her journey through those stages, finding hope, building confidence, eventually finding real joy in volunteering in her career, it really shows how this can unfold.
It does. It shows the potential.
So for our friend listening, the nursing student, what's their role? What's the role of mental health professionals in supporting this?
Oh, the role is absolutely vital. Crucial, really. It's about being a supportive partner. Building that genuine therapeutic relationship, empathy, respect, that's the foundation. Actively fostering the person's own empowerment and always, always providing care that's centered on their needs and goals.
Right. Not our agenda, but theirs.
Exactly.
The reading mentioned nurses acting as, like, facilitators.
Yes, facilitators is a good word.
Helping people set their goals, connecting them with resources out in the community, making sure their voice is actually heard in treatment planning.
Being an advocate.
It feels like a very different role than just, say, administering medication or monitoring symptoms, though those are important too.
They are important, but this is collaborative. It's working with the person, recognizing they're the expert on their own experience.
Not doing things to them.
Precisely. Think about a nurse co-creating a care plan. Yes, it might cover symptoms, but it also includes the client's goals for, say, social connection, or finding meaningful work, or improving overall well-being, and doing it all with that supportive, non-judgmental attitude. That's key.
Okay, this all sounds incredibly positive, and it is. But let's be real too. It can't always be smooth sailing. What kinds of challenges or barriers can get in the way?
You're absolutely right. The path isn't always straightforward. One huge barrier is stigma and discrimination.
Still such a big issue.
It really is. Those negative attitudes, the prejudice, they can create real obstacles. Finding jobs, housing, even just social acceptance, it directly hinders recovery.
That's heartbreaking.
It is. Another challenge can simply be a lack of resources, not enough access to good mental health care or social services or community support networks.
So the support systems aren't always there.
Unfortunately, no, not always. And then there's comorbidity, when someone's dealing with both mental health challenges and chronic physical health issues.
Right, like diabetes or heart disease.
Exactly. That can definitely complicate the recovery process. It requires more integrated, holistic care, which isn't always easy to find.
It's like adding extra hurdles to the race. That example of James with schizoaffective disorder, facing so much stigma in his community that he couldn't go back to work. That really hits home, how powerful those societal barriers can be.
It does, but it was also inspiring how peer support and therapy helped him build the confidence to navigate that specific barrier.
Yeah, that shows it's possible to overcome them. So what are some concrete actions, like day-to-day practices nurses can use to really embed this recovery model?
Okay, good question. Several key practices come to mind. Collaborative goal setting is fundamental. Really sitting down with the client as partners to define goals that are meaningful to them, achievable, and lined up with their values.
Got it. Partnership.
Then adopting a strength-based approach, actively looking for and focusing on the person's strengths, their talents, their resources.
Instead of just focusing on the problems or symptoms.
Exactly. Shift the lens. It's incredibly empowering in itself.
I can see that.
Also, encouraging and helping facilitate peer support and community involvement, connecting people with others who get it, who've walked a similar path. That shared experience offers unique validation, understanding, and crucially, hope.
Yeah, peer support seems incredibly powerful.
It really can be. And finally, resilience building. Helping clients recognize and nurture their own ability to cope with adversity, to bounce back from setbacks, to adapt.
Like teaching skills, but also helping them see the strength they already have.
Precisely. It's often about uncovering the resilience that's already there.
That image of a nurse facilitating a support group, maybe for people with mood disorders, creating that space where they can share stories, encourage each other, maybe help each other set goals. That feels like it brings all these practices together, fostering hope, connection.
Exactly. That's a great example of recovery-oriented practice in action.
So where are we seeing this model really take hold? How is it changing things in like actual healthcare settings or communities?
Well, there's a definite growing emphasis on community-based care. The understanding that recovery primarily happens in the community and people's everyday lives, not locked away in institutions.
Right, integrated into life.
Yes. And alongside that, a big push for empowerment through choice, making sure people have real options and are actively encouraged and supported to make informed decisions about their own care.
It challenges that older model, doesn't it? Where maybe the patient was seen as more passive.
It absolutely does. That more traditional medical model could sometimes position the individual as a recipient of care rather than the driver.
But the recovery model says,
It says the individual is the driving force. Their journey, their expertise on themselves is central. Professionals are there to offer support, resources, guidance, but it's the person's journey.
like with Maria, the client with PTSD,
Yes.
using trauma-informed care, but also letting her choose the methods that felt right, the type of therapy, joining a support group, using certain community resources.
That autonomy, that control was key for her. It was empowering and essential for her recovery process.
Okay. So wrapping this up, the big picture seems to be the recovery model is fundamentally about lighting that spark of hope
I hope is central.
and truly empowering people as they navigate their own very unique path towards a life that feels meaningful to them. And for you listening, our amazing future nurse friend, you, I know this might feel like a different perspective, maybe different from some of the more straightforward medical stuff you're learning.
It's a different lens, for sure.
But this person-centered way of thinking,
Right.
it is so important. It's got the power to make such a real lasting difference in the lives you're going to touch. Seriously. Even when it's 2 a.m. and you're highlighting another chapter and wondering why you did this,
We've all been there.
remember this stuff. Remember the why. Keep that empathy turned up high. What you're learning, how you'll approach people. It matters so, so much. You are going to do incredible things. Now, maybe try to get some sleep or at least some decent coffee. You absolutely got this.